Hey everybody, welcome! Today we are going to improve our understanding of interpersonal communication. And there are various ways we can look at our understanding of interpersonal communication. We'll take a look at meta communication. We'll also take a look at the stages model and the dialectical tension model of communication. So, good news, bad news. Unfortunately, relationships are messy. They are difficult. They take work. We've all heard this before. But the good news is that relationships are a beautiful and absolutely indispensable part of a happy human existence. We need each other and we need to have healthy relationships if we're going to be happy. So how do we have healthy relationships? Meta-communication. Meta-communication is essentially messages that refer to other messages. Anytime you see that underlined meta prefix while you're here in college, or after college, I suppose, you know that is talking about the larger issue of whatever comes after it, right? So if you're engaged in thinking about thinking, we discuss thinking is like cognition, like that's how scientists talk about it. So if you're thinking about cognition, you're engaged in metacognition. If you're making theories about how we make theories, you're engaged in meta theory. So if we're communicating about how we communicate, we're engaged in meta communication. This literally means you're talking about how you communicate with your relationship partner. So let's dive in and take a look at the stages model. So the stages model is wonderfully complex. It's not any better or worse than any other model. And we'll give it a quick rundown for you. You can see over here on the left is the coming together stage. In the top, it describes as relational maintenance. And on the right is the coming apart stage. So the easiest way is to jump in with an example. Say you meet someone online. You like them, they like you. The platform sends you stars or hearts or whatever it is. Your relationship has been initiated. You reach out. You send them a message. Woo! That's the exciting part. And some people hate it. Some people love it. A lot of people both. They send you a message back. You laugh at their message. You send them another message. It goes back and forth. And then you decide to maybe take a chance and share some deeper feelings or some deeper messages. You're you're experimenting, and that goes well. And they share something more personal with you. Your relationship's intensifying. Maybe you meet in real life person. And you two hit it off and it's going great. And you start hanging out together a lot. You start hanging out together a lot. So much so that your lives start to get integrated with each other. Some of your friends start to know each other's friends. A lot of the activities you do and you like, you find you're doing with this new person a lot. And then maybe you go all the way. You move in with this person. You're completely bonded together. You buy some furniture. You buy some dishes. What's mine? What's yours? I don't know. We have our stuff, right? And this is the pinnacle. This is the great. This is what we're all headed toward, right? You can see we're in the relational maintenance stage. And you can see on the right, differentiating is on the side of coming apart. But it's important to notice that differentiating is not necessarily bad. It's actually a pretty healthy thing in a relationship. You start to come apart a little. You want to be an independent person. You don't want to just be in this relationship. So you're differing what's mine, what's yours. And there's nothing bad about it at all. The problem is when a problem comes up and you don't want to talk about the problem. That's circumscribing. We'll talk more about these two steps in just a minute. But if you don't talk about the problem, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you're probably not talking about in two, your relationship starts to stagnate. You're in the stagnating phase. As in, things just start to get old. Things start to get bad. There's nothing new. It's not exciting anymore. This is this person who's in your life. And then maybe you start avoiding them because, you'd rather go hang out with your friends or you'd rather read a book. They sent you a text and instead of picking up your phone and texting back, you pretty much don't text at all. And then, of course, it'll come to the predictable end of terminating. Okay, look, this isn't working. You clearly are not into it. I'm clearly not into it. Let's just go our separate ways. No harm, no foul. Right? Makes sense. So, we wanted to talk about the differentiating and circumscribing phases because I'm here to tell you not only is that what we're going to concentrate on in this class, repeat, that's what we're going to concentrate on in this class, take the hint, but this is where you have an opportunity to really invest in a healthy way and turn around some potential problems. So let's take a closer look. So, differentiating is when couples begin to figure out how they are and how they're different from one another, right? I want to go do my thing with my friends. This is my thing. You want to go do your thing with your friends. That's your thing. Circumscribing is when couples talk around a problem instead of actually addressing it. And this leads to what we call an avoidance spiral, where basically people just develop so much independence of each other that they kind of withdraw. They're less involved. They become less interested because there's less intimacy. So, differentiating is good, even though it's on the coming apart side, and circumscribing, as you might imagine, is bad. So how does this work? Circumscribing. So say you have a problem, and instead of talking about the problem, you talk around the problem. And to a certain degree, we do this all the time. Maybe there are dishes in the sink, and it gets to you, but your partner had a rough day, and you don't necessarily want to go give them a hard time for dishes in the sink. So you just don't say anything about it, you do the dishes. Cool. Okay. Next time, there's also dishes in the sink, and they've had, again, a rough day, and, now it's kind of becoming a problem, but you don't want to go to them and talk about it because you kind of don't want to talk about the fact that this has happened before, and it's continuing to happen, so you just do them dishes again. And then it happens again. And now you're doing the dishes because you really don't want to talk about all the times you've had to do their dishes, but you're starting to get a little bit mad that you're having to do all their dishes. And as the situation continues, you're getting more and more upset about having to do all these dishes. And what happens is what was once a small problem is now a much larger problem. This is called circumscribing, when we talk around the problem. It literally comes from the Greek for drawing a circle. And it's at these stages where that's where things are going to stagnate. That's when you're not going to feel close to this person. You're not going to feel like you're really a part of you want to be a part of their lives sometimes. Sometimes you're going to start avoiding them. And then down the hill you go, coming apart, and usually it either leads to relationship terminating or a relationship that's just stagnant and really unhealthy. It's important to note that these relationships are not just for romantic. This can be applied to a friend, especially a really close friend, someone at work, your neighbor across the hall, whatever it be. It's just easiest to look through a romantic relationship stance. By the way, side note, completely unrelated, this is a video, so I have a lot of things on the screen. Please do not make PowerPoints when you go out through the rest of your lives that look like this. This is far too busy for a PowerPoint. I just wanted to call it out. We have all of these things on the screen because this is a video, and we're trying to make up for all that nonverbal that would happen were I to be making a regular presentation. Sorry, the public speaking teacher in me just couldn't let it go. Anyway, that's the stages model, right? We go up, we differentiate, we circumscribe, we go down. So now, let's take a look at the dialectical tension model. And dialectical tension is based on the idea that every interpersonal relationship must deal with equally important, simultaneous, and opposing forces. What? Yes, every relationship has to deal with forces and a push and a pull that they're all important and they're all happening at the same time. The big takeaway here is that this is not an unhealthy thing. This is a very normal, very natural, very healthy thing to have these tensions in a relationship. We have to do a little compromise. Compromise around things like connection versus autonomy. How much are you going to stay close? How much do you want to be your own thing? Openness versus privacy. How much are you going to share? How much do you kind of want to keep to yourself? And then predictability and novelty. Like, people want to know what they're getting, but we also get bored if we get the same thing all the time. So a diagram helps figure this out. Like a lot of things in communication and the humanities in general, it operates on a spectrum. So on one side, you might have connection, and on the other side, you would have autonomy. Like, maybe for connection, you've been playing pool with your partner, like shooting pool, the billiards, on Thursday nights, and it's great. You really enjoy this activity. But then something comes up with their friends going on Thursday night, and you want to go hang out with your friends. You want to be separate. You want a certain amount of autonomy. There's that tension there, right? Like, what are you going to do? I don't know. It's up to you. There's an openness and closeness sort of privacy. Rather, openness and privacy. Openness, closeness, privacy, whatever. You get the idea. Openness, you want to share your feelings. Privacy, maybe you don't want to tell the other person absolutely everything. Maybe some things you want to keep to yourself. Maybe you want to be open about your past. But, there's probably details in your past that your partner doesn't necessarily need to know all of those details. Maybe you don't want to tell them about this most awesomest person you kissed once, especially if it isn't them. So we also have the predictability and novelty tension. So a real easy one is to sort of take a look at older folk, especially people that have been married 35, 40, 50 years. This one is something that we can see that they've clearly been able to deal with throughout their lives. So maybe things are predictable. The kids are gone, or they don't need as much attention, and Friday night is pizza night. Every Friday night, they're going to order a pizza, they're going to hang out in front of the TV and watch their older person shows, right? Sounds like a great life, and it probably is. But you need some novelty. We need something to sort of shake it up a little, because that predictability just sort of gets boring and old. So maybe every once in a while, they put on some nice clothes and go to the restaurant. Or they go to the comedy club. Or maybe it's a surprise. One partner says to the other on Tuesday, "Hey, come Friday, put on some nice clothes. We're going out." And the other person says, "Where are we going?" "Don't worry about it. It's a surprise." These things are gold in a relationship, especially if you plan on it lasting a long time. So think about your different sides of your tension. And think about how you'd like to manage your dialectical tensions. So we have some methods that aren't so great. We have like denial, just completely denying that it's a problem. Never a good idea. We have disorientation, where we feel overwhelmed and helpless. Like, oh, they always want to do this and I never want to do that. Oh, we're doomed. And we have selection, where you only pay attention to one side. Like, maybe you only pay attention to one side of the connection autonomy, and so that the other person feels crowded. Or you only pay attention to the novelty, which is great and exciting, but after a while, people kind of like to know what they're getting into. Some much better techniques are like alternation, where you might alternate from one side to the other. One time we do this, the next time we do that. Segmentation, where you compartmentalize different areas. Basically, like, there's lots of sharing about past in our relationships, but probably don't want to tell certain details when you were intimate with other people in past relationships. And then, of course, the key, what seems to always keep coming back up in this type of talk, is moderation. Like, we try this one, we try that one. A very wise person told me when I was younger, moderation, Mark, is the key to life. And I looked just like him. It was my dad. And you know what? I didn't want to hear it, but he was right. So If we're going to try to manage dialectical tension, the absolute best thing we can do, the gold standard, is to reaffirm each other. Reaffirm that we like this relationship. Reaffirm that I enjoy being in this relationship. Reaffirm that I love you type of thing, if it's a romantic relationship. Probably not the best one for a work relationship, but you get the idea. We want to be in relationships that involve continual change and negotiation. There's no way around it. And if we want to be in a relationship, that's something we just need to plan for. Partners can be in sync some ways, but not others. And that's totally fine. If your romantic partner is feeling like, oh, we might be in trouble because we're not in sync on this, it's fine to reaffirm to them, I enjoy being in this relationship, and we don't have to be in sync on this particular portion. And you know what? Reaffirming that different approaches for different situations can be just fine. Maybe one thing works for another couple, but it might not work for you. Because relationships are unique. It's great to have someone in your life that you take a lot of your advice from, but if that's the only person in your life you take the advice from, and you apply it as though you know it to be true, you might get into a little trouble, because you need to find what works for both of you, and the best way to do that for real, especially long term, is just trial and error. You suck up that pride, you give something a shot, and if it works, awesome. And if it doesn't, you can just reaffirm to that person that relationships involve continual change and negotiation, and you are just trying something new. So, I hope that helped us all improve our understanding of interpersonal communication. We took a look at meta-communication, talking about communication. We took a look at this wonderfully intricate and excellent stages model of communication. And we took a look at the balancing act that is the dialectical tension model. I'm Mark Lieberman. Thanks for your time.